my name is Hillary Mulick and I am a wedding photographer based in North Carolina. Here on my YouTube channel, I share education for photographers that includes business, marketing, how I shoot and film, and also peeks into my personal life here in the Carolinas. Before we start with today's topic, make sure to download my free guide, How to Get 10 Storytelling Images with Just One Pose. It's my secret to keeping my couples calm and comfortable while also producing a variety of images without moving them around constantly, and it makes them happy and it makes me happy too. So make sure to download that free guide in the description. So I'm really excited about today's topic. I am going to be talking about how I cull a wedding in one of the programs that I love, PhotoMechanic. If you are still culling your weddings in Lightroom, please stop immediately because PhotoMechanic is just a really great program to help you cull faster. It renders your images faster, and it just helps you sort through your images way more efficiently than you ever would in Lightroom. So today I'm gonna go over how I use PhotoMechanic and how I cull a wedding in there. So let's get started. When I am culling anything that I've shot, whether it's a wedding or a portrait session, I love culling in this program called PhotoMechanic. I've been using this for years. It is really awesome because it renders images very quickly so that you could cull quickly. Whereas if you are pulling images into Lightroom and culling in there, it just takes a while for each image to render, which basically just means for each image to load and become crisp so you can see what the image is and then decide quickly whether or not you're going to keep it. So I love using PhotoMechanic for that. In this video, I'm going to show you how I cull a wedding and just what my process is and just how I use PhotoMechanic when doing that. So I'm going to go over here. Here are the different files that I have on my computer, and I'm going to go here to my hard drive. I always keep all of my images on an external hard drive, and then they're also backed up online. If you want to learn more about my backup system process, I'll link that video down below. But I'm going to go here to HMP5, and here are all the sessions and weddings that I have loaded on here. And I am a very visual person. I love color coordinating things. So I actually have these color coordinated so that everything that is flagged with the color green has been delivered. And then things that are flagged in purple have been culled, but just haven't been delivered yet because I'm either still waiting on film or I just haven't finished editing it yet. And then the ones that don't have a color flag yet, like Courtney and Tom's wedding, that means it still needs to be culled and I haven't done anything with it yet. So Courtney and Tom's wedding is the one that I'm going to be culling today. I'm going to open that up, and I have 3 files in here. So this one is my second shooter, the EOS file. So I'm going to open that up. Here are all my second shooter's images. This one is the file from my camera. So here are all the raw images that I took that day. And then here are all the images that were the film images that I shot that were sent to me by my film lab. So I'm going to pull those up too. And I'm going to start with just my images. And when I am culling in PhotoMechanic for a first initial cull, what I do is I go to the very first image and I click the little magnifying glass here to open it up so that it's bigger. And actually just click the arrows just on my keyboard, and I quickly go through these and I flag the ones that I want to keep and eventually edit in Lightroom later. So how I flag them is the numbers that are on my keyboard. So number 1 is going to flag it as pink. You can see the pink there, and you can actually see this a little bit easier. So number 1 is the pink flag. Number 2 on the keyboard is the red flag, and so on and so forth. So I find that flagging with colors is a lot easier. You can actually flag using the number system as well. So I'm going to open this up again, and I'm just going to quickly go through and just show you how quick this is. So I'm going through each image fairly quickly, and I'm just on my keyboard just flagging the ones that I want to keep and edit later. And I'll do this for every image on here. Now, before I finish this, I also wanted to mention that usually when I keep images to cull, I try and deliver for weddings about 75 to 100 images per hour. That's always my goal to cull the images down to for all the images. So my images, second shooters images, and film images. So this wedding in particular, Courtney and Tom's wedding, I was there for 8 hours. So my goal is to cull it down to around 800 images at most. So I will be back when I am done culling this. I have just finished the first round of culling. This is the folder that has all of my digital images in it. So I culled it down to 627. You can see that number down here at the bottom. If I click this little flag here in the top right-hand corner to show me, to make it so that I'm not only seeing the ones that I've flagged, it goes back. So my original number was around 2,500 images, and after I culled them down a little bit, I've selected 627 that I feel like are really good, strong images that I could potentially bring into Lightroom and edit and deliver to my client. This second folder is all my second shooters images, and I've culled these down to 236, and then I have my film images here. So my goal with my digital images, like I mentioned earlier, is to deliver about 100 images at most per hour. I usually aim between 75 and 100 images per hour. And this wedding was 8 hours. So the most I want to be delivering at the end of this is about 800 images. So what I'm going to do with this second round of culling is, originally when I did my first round of culling, is I clicked this little magnifying glass so I can see all these images up close, and that allows me to see which ones are in focus, which ones are the best of the best. I can even go over here to this little zoom slider if I'm looking at, for example, let me pull it up. So for example, if I'm looking at a group shot like this, so I can look a little bit closer to make sure everyone's eyes are open and they're in focus. So I did that with my first round of culling. But for this second round of culling, I'm actually going to keep it more zoomed out like this. And I can actually adjust the size of the thumbnails with this little slider here. And my goal with this second round of culling is to get these images down even more so that the images that I end up delivering to the client really are the best of the best, and that there aren't any duplicate images in there. So what I mean by that is, when I'm looking at all these images as a whole, so right off the bat, I see these two images here, and they both look really similar, and I want to pick the best of the best. I don't want my client to go through the gallery and see two images that look basically like duplicates, and it's going to be a waste of my time editing wise. What I do with this second round of culling is, I've already gone through all these images and I know that they're all really good, they're all in focus, and so just looking at these from a little bit farther back, I'm just going to pick the best of the best. And I think this one is a little bit better than this one. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to click 0 on my keypad, and that's just going to take that flag off, so that when I toggle this down, now instead of 627 images, it's going to go down to 626. And so I'm going to do that with all of my images. I'm just going to go through all of these, and any ones that look very similar to each other. So for example, right here, I got multiple lantern pictures next to each other. I'm just going to pick the best one. These two images look very similar. I'm going to pick the best one. So I'm going to go through all of these, and I'm going to go through all my second images and just whittle these down even more so that I'm closer to that 800 number, which is my goal. Okay, so the second round of culling is done, and I was able to get my images down to 572 and my second shooter's images to around 200, which is perfect because that's just under the 800 mark that I was going for. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back over to this file name for their wedding, Courtney and Tom, and I'm just going to do a right click and I'm going to color label it as purple, because this wedding, it has now been culled, and I'm going to show you how I pull this into Lightroom now. So I'm actually going to get rid of those two folders. I'm gonna leave my images here. So I'm gonna go over here to the side. I'm gonna click on my second shooters folder here, which is this EOS folder. Right click and go to Open in Current Contact Sheet. Now both their photos and my photos are all in this same file here, totaling at 769 flagged images. And then I'm also going to add my film images in here. Open in Current Contact Sheet. So now I am over the 800 mark with my film images in there, but with my film, I double shoot. So there are digital images that are going to match these film images, and when I bring them all into Lightroom, I'm going to find which digital images match the film that's in here, and I'm going to end up deleting the digital and keeping the film. So that's why it's over the 800 mark right now. So I'm going to go ahead and go click Command A to select all of these. I'm going to open up my Adobe Lightroom Classic. And for each new wedding, I create a new catalog. It just makes it a lot easier for finding Lightroom catalogs that have specific images in them. So I'm going to go to Create New Catalog. And I always name each new catalog with just the same exact name that their images are under. I'm going to create it here. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this over, and since all of these images in PhotoMechanic are already selected, I'm just going to drag them over here to Lightroom, drop them in. It's detecting 891 images from these three folders. I make sure the Add button is selected, and then I'm going to click Import. So now it's going to import all of these into my new Lightroom catalog for this wedding. And in next week's video, I'm going to show you how I organize images in Lightroom before I start editing them. It's going to make the editing process go so much faster, so much smoother if you just take these 10 extra minutes to organize the images within Lightroom first. So that'll be next week. All right, so that's how I cull a wedding using PhotoMechanic. I hope that was super helpful to you. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to leave them down below and I will answer them. And I will see you next week for another YouTube video. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.